Now, Barry spoiled me for later interviews because this was a man who ran his own life. He didn't have publicists or managers standing over him saying what to say or whatever. So the whole time that he was talking with me, he was running his business. And he had one of those old phones, where you have like 10 lines on it. Right. And I'm like, wow.
Common Senser, thank you so much for joining us. If you are interested in acting tips, industry insights, interviews, or life lessons, you have come to the right place. Steve Ivory is a Hollywood music journalist who left his native Oklahoma City for Los Angeles the week he graduated from high school. His writing career began at the nationally distributed Soul newspaper. He helped start Black Beat and has written for Billboard, the Los Angeles Times, Vibe, Essence, NPR, The Source, Black Radio Exclusive, Radioscope, VH1, and MTV. He is a regular on Unsung, TV One's award-winning show about R&B artists. He's written a ton of album liner notes and CD liner notes for a variety of artists, from Aretha Franklin to Burt Bacharach. As an author, he's written the first ever bio on Prince. Bobby Holland is a Grammy-nominated photographer, filmmaker, and in charge of Cimarron West. He's also been photographing Black music acts and celebrities since the 70s. He has shot over hundreds of album covers for top musicians, including Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Quincy Jones, Tina Marie, and Patrice Rushen. He has also done advertising campaigns, automotive, and music videos, as well as documentary projects.
Going into my 12th year in high school, just before that, my mother had passed suddenly. And I had a grandmother who lived out here.
Okay.
And she didn't really, she knew me very well. She was my grandmother, but she thought that without Mama being there, that I was going to be running the streets. She didn't know that I was afraid of my own shadow. But she said, Stevie, when you graduate from high school, you can come out here to LA and go to school, or you can come out here and you can go to school. I said, Grandmother, you said the same thing twice. She said, I'm so glad you decided to come out here and go to school. I thought, gee, so...
You and really have an option.
Yeah. In school, I graduated with a D average. And my thing was, I'm passing. I'm out. They asked me, the counselor said, what are you going to do with a D average in life? I said, I'm going to graduate. That's what I'm going to do with a D average. But so I came out here and went to school. And that's when I discovered Soul newspaper. Soul was nationally distributed. But we didn't get it in Oklahoma City for some reason. But when I got out here, I read all of that stuff. I had already been reading Rolling Stone and Esquire and stuff like that. But to find Soul on the newsstands here, I just used to devour it. It would come out, every 2 weeks or every other week or something.
I think
like
every
that?
week.
Yeah, was it every week?
I think it was every week. Yeah.
We don't even remember.
Yeah.
And we
it was just.
I think it was every week.
I think it was every week.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was
Every
a
week.
week.
And I would just be at the liquor store, because that's where I bought it from in the hood, and you're just waiting on that thing to come. And when it would come, I would just chew it up, just devour it. But in everything that I ever read, all the magazines I ever read, I always read a little box that said, we'll accept unsolicited manuscripts if you send them in with a self-addressed envelope. So I knew that I had an interest in the same things that these articles were talking about. I knew I was interested in knowing how people made records and how they performed and all that kind of stuff. So I figured I would just ask somebody, those questions. I didn't know how to write, but I knew that I needed I knew that the only way that an editor was going to look at what I was doing was to have somebody famous that I had interviewed. Now, keep in mind, I had never done anything like this before, but I had the nerve to call, I think it was what label was?
20th Century Fox.
20th Century Fox
Records.
where Barry White
Yes.
was
20th
signed
Century
to.
Fox
And
Records.
Barry White at that time, we're talking about 74, 75.
He was
Red
coming,
hot.
yes.
Yeah, he had 3 records on the charts. He had Love Unlimited, the Love Unlimited Orchestra. He had something he had done, and then he had his girl group.
Right.
Love unlimited. The guy believed in love. But I called his publicist at 20th Century, and I said, listen, I'm from the Los Angeles Times. That was my first lie. And
Here we go.
and I want to interview Barry White. And you couldn't do this
right.
today.
No,
you
can't.
couldn't do anything
Too many
like this
gatekeepers
today. Yes,
now.
too
Back
many
then, you could
gatekeepers.
just walk on in.
That's right. So the lady said, I'll get back to you. Well, that was a problem because I'm living with my grandmother and I'm going to school every day. So I had to be home to answer that phone. Otherwise, they were going to know they weren't calling the LA Times. So I managed to be home. She said, listen, you've got an hour. You can come up Thursday, 12 noon to 1 o'clock. You can talk to Barry White. So I went up, took me 3 buses to get from South Central to get to 9000 building where he was working at, right across from the Roxy.
That's right.
But the 3rd bus that I was on, I was waiting on that bus to come. And I know this is a long story, and I'll stop in a minute. But that last bus was where there was a white cat there. He looked a little older than me. I was 21. He was like 23 or something. He wasn't homeless, but he was en route. I mean, he had on denim and shaggy blonde. I mean, this guy could have been Charlie Manson.
Oh.
But we started talking, and he said, so where you going today? I said, man, I'm a journalist. There's that lie again. And I'm on my way to interview Barry White. And I was telling the truth about that. And we went on talking about other things. But when the bus was in the distance, he said, Barry White, huh? He said, I've always wanted to meet Barry White. Now, I knew this was a lie. I mean, the guy didn't look like he even liked black men. He said, man, do you think I could come with you to interview Barry White? I said, I don't see why not. I mean, so we went to Barry White, and I'm in the elevator, and on the way up to his office, that's when it occurred to me that maybe this wasn't a good idea, what I had done. So I turned to this cat and I said, listen, I just have one request of you. I'm the professional here. I mean, I want you to just be quiet and not say a word. And he said, man, I'm not even here. I said, you know what, that's what I want to hear. So we went in, sat down with Barry White. I mean, everything but him was baby blue. The shag carpet,
Yep.
drapes.
Yep.
Am I right?
Everything was baby blue.
Yeah, everything was baby blue. Everything was custom. It was
Right.
like a.
I think there was different textures of velvet up in there too. If you want to be, I have to go back and check. But yeah, he had a hell of an office.
I thought this man, me just coming from Oklahoma, this guy was like the most powerful man in the world.
He had a beautiful desk, and there was not one thing on it. I think there was like a pen set or something, but no paperwork, nothing.
That's right.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
And you started doing your interviews?
And I put my tape recorder on that desk, and I turned it on, and, just started asking him questions. Now, Barry spoiled me for later interviews because this was a man who ran his own life. He didn't have publicists or managers standing over him saying what to say or whatever. So the whole time that he was talking with me, he was running his business. And he had one of those old phones, where you have like 10 lines on it. Right. And I'm like, wow, this guy must be in touch with the Soviet Union with all these lines he's got. And he was, cursing people out on each line. What? Hell no. No, it ain't gonna be no more royalties until you make it, He was just had all kinds of stuff going on, and I just thought, wow. Now, true to his word, the cat I bought in there never said a word. The only thing he did was he went in his backpack, and that made me nervous. He went in his backpack, he got a pen and a pad out, and he just started writing, a big pad. We were there from 12 noon to 5 p.m. Barry White didn't seem to care how long we were there because he was busy doing his business. Yeah. But at some point he got on the phone and someone told him that he had to go record that evening. So he got off the phone and told us that. He said, you guys got to go. We got to, I gotta go record. And that's when the man with no name said, can I use your bathroom? That was the only thing that he had said to Mr. White. And Barry said, down the hall to the left. And the guy went down the hall, and I get up and I'm stretching, and I go look at the gold records on the wall, and Barry White starts smoking a cigarette, and he starts talking to me with my back to him, and he says, you know, that guy you brought in here with you, he's a hard worker. That guy, he never said a word. He's just never lifted his head up. He's just writing the whole time. What's his name? And I said, who? And he said, your man, the guy you brought in here with you. And I said, you know what, Mr. White, and I'm not looking at him. I'm looking at the gold records and citations and things. And I said, man, I don't even know who that guy is. I met him on the bus stop on the way over here. He said he wanted to meet Barry White. So I brought him with me. And Barry White, I mean, the silence was deafening. And I turned around, and Barry was looking at me, and he was smoking a cigarette. And he said, let me get something straight here. You and I don't know each other. We've never met, right? I said, no, sir. He said, you mean to tell me you brought some motherfucker in from off the motherfucking street into my motherfucking place of business just because he wanted to meet motherfucking Barry White? And I couldn't think of anything else to say because he had caught me. So I just said, yes, sir. And he just looked at me and smoked another puff and said, man, that's fucking beautiful. And at that point, that's when the guy came out of the room, out of the men's room, and Barry White grabbed this guy and gave him a big hug. Now, Barry, you know, he was a big guy. And this guy was looking around the torso of Barry while he was hugging me, looking at me like, what the fuck happened in here while, you know? And Barry White said, you know, I gotta go, but listen, you guys sit down. Tell me the story again. How did you guys, you know, meet? You know, and how did this happen again? So I explained it to him. I told him that, you know, he said he wanted to meet Barry White, so I brought him to meet Barry White. Now, I will say this, that later on, when I became, you know, what I had lied about when I became a journalist, I would
you didn't lie about it. You were on your way.
Yeah, I was on my way. I would have to interview Barry White over the years. And, you know, Bobby would shoot him, you know, for those photo sessions and things like that. And every time that I would interview Barry White, he would say, you got everything you need? Yes, sir. You sure? You got everything you need? Yes, I do. Okay. Then he would hit the buzzer. I want everybody to come in my office. And, you know, he'd have 5 or 6 or 7 people working for him, and they would all come in, and they would sit down, and he would look at me and say, now, tell all these people how we met. And so I would have to tell that story again. And at the end of that story, he would laugh so hard as if he had never heard the story before.
Oh.